Wait, I could have done it. I wanted to push the button.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Next week, you get to push the button.
Thanks for man pressing that button.
Man pressing.
Sitting in the same place next week.
Yeah. I look taller over here.
Yeah, you are taller over there. It's a weird time warp thing.
That is
dimension warp, whatever. I don't write science fiction
space, time, space.
The final frontier.
It's a quantum change. Yeah.
Oh, guys, this week-old coffee.
Oh, that's gross.
Disgusting.
I freshened mine up since last week. Jesus.
We don't.
And I washed my cup.
Here. We even said that we don't waste things.
The only thing we waste here is time.
Yes, and your time. So thank you for being with us, Bards and Balladeers. We are here. That should be our quote line.
We are here.
We are here. We are Bards and Balladeer.
We are strong. No one's going to tell us we're wrong.
That's right. Only I can tell me that I'm wrong.
Wrong, yeah. And I'm wrong.
Love is a battlefield.
Put your armor on.
Yeah, yes. So yeah, we're here at again. We got
Kate.
I'm Oscar.
And I'm Rio. And we say Bards and Balladeers in sync.
We are in sync.
We are in sync.
We are Bards and Balladeers.
Bards and Balladeers.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
I'll edit it to make it all sync up.
Just have a clock behind us that just keeps showing different times. Yeah.
Or the obvious cut where we cut her out and the lighting's different. And
we should seriously I can bring stuff too.
We should start hanging out stuff together. Hey, if you send us anything, I'll put our some kind of link or something for you to send us to PO Box.
Yeah. We're not promising to hang it up. It depends on what it is.
Yeah.
It does.
No eggplants, peaches, or
promotions of your stuff.
Yeah, right.
Hey, promote my book.
It might kind of be kind of cool if we had shelves and then we had a bookshelf behind it.
Maybe when we have guests, we can put one thing of theirs behind.
I like that. I like that. That's a great idea. Write that down.
Yeah.
You're the one with the notebook.
Oh, it's a very full notebook.
I don't know how to use a pen.
It's full of notes.
How do I write with this thing?
But yeah, we are working on getting guests in. We got to talk about the one person I mentioned earlier.
That is true.
Brooke. Yeah, Brooke Calder.
An unnamed person.
Yeah.
I didn't know, just mention it here, or spoil it or whatever.
Morgan.
You don't know what their last name is. It could be Brooke Shields.
I just said Brooke Calder, so I spoiled that.
Oh.
Brooke Calder who?
Brooke
the third? The first?
Brooke R. Calder.
Oh, wow.
Her
social security number is.
Yeah, I don't know that part. I just know she's a friend of mine who's a songwriter and makes music. And she's one of my closest friends. So
nice. Yeah, we look forward to having her on. Absolutely. So
yeah.
That and many
then we'll have
guests.
a third or fourth mic and we'll stick it right in the middle of the table.
We're going to have a fourth mug.
Oh God, don't make me do all that extra work. she has, guests have to bring their own mugs.
BYOM.
BYOM.
Brooke, pack a mug.
Yes. Hopefully Pack of Wells doesn't shatter by TSA.
What are we talking about?
What are we
talking about? When do they pee?
Oh.
When do they pee?
Last week. I peed last week.
Mundane things that we often don't talk about in stories that can get glanced over.
Or glamorized.
To some degree.
I think about how the mundane things that get glamorized, but
yeah. Those things that the story doesn't focus on or center around, but if you don't address them, then it stops being as believable.
Right.
You think, hey, wait a minute.
Takes away that suspended belief. Yeah. Of these are real human, sometimes characters, right? I don't know. It depends on your story.
Sci-fi.
But they still have normal bodily functions to some degree that, like you said, takes away if it's not addressed. But I think I'm doing that in the world this week.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Speaking of
peeing, of characters. Lately, I've been noticing. So a couple weeks back, I was going to watch a comfort movie, and one of my comfort movies is Lilo and Stitch. I won't lie. So it's a fantastic movie. And as I was watching it, I found that it's such a good movie and so satisfying by the end because every single character learns a lesson by the end of the movie. And whether or not it's Pleakley or even Mr. Bubbles, I think towards the end, he even learns something like Stitch obviously does. And Lilo does. Even, was it David? Is that Nani's boyfriend?
Yeah.
But in another way, Rio and I have been watching Modern Family, just going through episode by episode here and there. And I think that's another reason why those episodes are always so satisfying to get through, is because by the end of the episode, everybody has learned something by the end. And I just think it's such a fun, it's either that cyclical writing, I don't actually know what it is, but it's
ABC that come together kind of thing.
Yeah. Some kind of plot device where everybody actually, has character development throughout the entire movie. Go figure.
They're not just like stand-ins for whatever. Like you're gonna make fun of the fat guy dad character or whatever.
Right. And so every moment of every episode in Modern Family or in Lilo and Stitch, every scene is just necessary. And I just think it's such a, I don't know. I think it's becoming a lost art, at least in TV.
To not waste the resources of the story.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
And the characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how you don't notice that until it's done wrong, maybe.
Or deliberately done wrong, like in the case of The Big Lebowski.
Where
practically it seems like nobody learns anything. And I think it's done. The opinions divided on it. But to me, I'm like, I love how they did this, where it's almost like they did it so that you're like, well, what was this movie about? And it's like, exactly, like you're just calling out that everything has to be about something.
Sure.
Okay. I do like that.
Although to me, it's sort of like, well, what it is about is like, what would happen if you tried to make a complete loser be the hero? And like the result is he would still be a loser. He would not be, he would balk at being the hero.
Right.
That's the whole movie, and like just enjoy it.
Interesting. Like taking that thing, but like kind of turning it on its head.
Right. I think when I've seen it done wrong is where they're clearly trying to make there be a point or wrap up everything. And it's just like half of it's not wrapped up or the point is unclear, but it's clear that they were trying to make there be one.
Right. That's trying too hard to push that point or push that kind of like idea
where it's just overbearing.
Right. It's like, we get it. Like,
I think anime kind of does that a lot where they like,
worst.
they give a big long monologue of like, I have to be this thing. I'm doing horrible.
Maybe no, you're doing actually pretty great. You could be a voice actor.
You're totally Shatnering this up.
I've got to be.
But it's just they tell the lesson without showing it, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. Definitely overtell. Like, if I don't do this, then Master Roshi won't be able to give me the Power Stone so I can find out my way to happiness. And then like it's just
that escalation. Yeah.
I like how, I just have to say, I like how a minute ago you had to point out that I love anime. Like anyone who hasn't seen the past like 5 episodes doesn't know that.
Fair enough.
Anime expert.
They might be coming into this one. So I'm reintroducing.
What's on your shirt again there?
It's a cat.
Oh, okay. It's an anime cat.
No, just a cat.
He's
totally cat with a little message.
People.
Yeah,
with a message.
Silent.
We like it when everyone learns a valuable Christmas lesson.
Yes. And if it's earned, it's always if it's earned. Like, because
then it is more satisfying.
Yeah. Because you got to get there and they got to actually learn. But to your point though, like sometimes I do hate it when everything has to be connected to something. Like, everything, oh, that's how we got this, or this is how they got this, or whatever. Like, sometimes it's just how the world works out, right? Sometimes people just find their way to A, B, or C and
Into the Wild.
The Wild, yeah.
Is a good example of it. I haven't seen it. Just trying to.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's one of those weird things where it's like, it's not that the ending is not satisfied. If you've never seen Into the Wild, I won't spoil it. Go watch the other episode. But it's one of those things that sometimes people expect things, like, or if it's not a happy ending, then they're not happy. But if it's a resolved ending, that's what matters. Like this is the conclusion of the story, and everything has led up to this moment, and it makes, I don't want to say sense, but it is where it's supposed to go because of the choices, right? So, I like it when it just like fitting the story, right? We're always about fitting what fits the story, what we need for it to be, I don't know, fulfilled or
which is ironic right now because like as you all may have noticed that particular Out in the World did not match our episode. We're not always going to do it that way. It's just what's inspiring us out in the world. But we could try to your point, we could try to force it to be connected. Like what lesson was learned, I learned not to pee on the seat because people get mad at me.
And then
it's not all about me. Don't worry, guys. But yeah, like even just that whole, like, I don't know, people getting ready and we're like, oh, it's going to take me 20 minutes to get there. It's like, no, it's going to take you 20 minutes once you get in your car. To between then and the time you pull into the driveway. It's going to take you 5 minutes to like get out the door and into the car. It's going to take you another 3 to get out of the car and into where you're supposed to be. And you're going to factor that time in. Like, that's not quite the same, but, like thing is like, when do they pee or whatever, but like, but yeah, just like all the loose ends all the things that you launch in a story, just kind of finding their mark in the end is what you're talking about. Like that's really difficult to do. People don't realize how hard that is to do as a storyteller. And how many things you have to factor in, like the little example I just gave of like, well, here's how long things actually take. Sometimes you don't know till you're writing something that this can't work or this isn't going to go somewhere. And then you've got to sort of like figure out, okay, well, how can I make that work? Yeah. And it's so elegant when it's done right. You're like, all of this ties up so nicely, but you don't always see like what goes on behind the sines to make that happen.
Right. Right. How many revisions, how many different versions of that story you might go through, but using those same, like, how does Doctor Who phrase it? Like those unchangeable events.
Oh, the fixed points.
Yeah. Fixed
time
points.
and space.
Yeah. But yeah. And so, yes, very well said. Not always having to do with the episode, but I think I just really like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. It's a good anime. It's an anime. It's not an anime. It's a good movie. So, I mean, I'm not so sure about the new one, but
we won't talk about it.
Is that what makes it a comfort watch for you? The fact that everything ties up?
I really think so, that everybody learns something by the end, and it just makes it really sweet. And because it's these characters going from being a failed family or failing, sorry, not failed. Nobody's ever failed family. Ohana. But then by the end, everybody's learned how to work with each other and work with their, I don't want to say strengths and weaknesses, but
even the bad guys become good guys.
Honestly, and they learn to appreciate, like, yes, Stitch is an alien that is like indestructible and can learn things on the fly. But it's just so sweet and satisfying by the end, I think. Yeah. And the animation is beautiful and the soundtrack rocks. So I think it's all of that.
One thing I found that can be comforting about that sort of thing is that it feels empowering. Like when everyone learns something, it usually means that everything matters. And when you feel like life doesn't matter, it's nice to watch something where, oh no, like this had a real consequence and people learned from it, and just like they're supposed to, and all of that, instead of looking back, like what was the point of anything, Right. So when you feel that way in real life, it's a good comfort thing to like see, oh, here's a realm where everything matters and people understand meanings and grow and learn.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there also a catharsis too when things don't work out though? Like, I've seen plenty of movies where it's just like, again, it's not the happy ending, but, and for me, I always want like at least a knowledge of where the ending is going to be, or have like, because if they just walk off to the sunset, sometimes that's kind of unfulfilling, right? It's just like, and that's it. Right. Like there's no more.
Yeah, there were a lot of 80s movies that cut off really early.
Yeah.
What?
Give me something more. Like, just like just something, And but sometimes it's like we watch a movie like maybe like once a year, and because we can't watch it more than that, and it's Wolf Children, and it's an anime. Because remember, I like anime. For the people that don't know that. I like anime.
Did you know?
I had no idea.
But it's hard to watch because the ending is kind of sad, and it's just like not in a way where like people all die or something like that, but in a way just like where it's about letting go. It's about having trust in what your family is and who they are, and letting them be them.
Giving into that mundane of regular, normal family life.
Yeah, absolutely, and learning who you are and what's most important to you, and about yourself, like and accepting that, and but it's just one of those things where it's just like it's hard to let go. So it's just there's a point I was probably making with this one, but I don't remember.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, there's a point, something, but it's just those films that that we don't need that ending specifically. We just need to have these movies to feel a certain way sometimes. We
actually, I just wrote what I wrote down for those who are watching me. I I think we need to do an episode on endings.
I would love that because
I recently
would that be our last episode?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, on panel. No, it's not having to be our last episode.
No,
and bye.
Because I won't lie, I love ambiguous endings sometimes if the story calls for it. Right.
For anyone, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I've seen part of it.
Ends on a cliffhanger very deliberately.
Sure,
not setting up for another film, but just I think it's just the whole movie is so frustrating, and it ends that way just as to troll the viewer.
Okay.
It's great.
Crazy.
It's like, okay, which of these things is this character gonna do? There's a phone ringing and he's supposed to take this action. Does he take the action first and then answer the phone, take the action? And it matters a lot which one he does first, and then it ends.
Oh,
and it's like, okay, that was well done.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
You like the Grey's ambiguous.
It's funny. Yep, that's in my opinion, a fantastic ambiguous ending because there is like a stinger at the end too. I think that adds to the ambiguous ending. But another one that I'm trying to remember the name of it. Was it American Fiction? It was that movie.
Oh, yes.
With Sterling Brown was in it and our boy Bernard. That's not his real name.
That's not his real name. It's Bernard from Westworld. He was the Watcher in the Marvel series. What If series. Yeah.
Fantastic actor.
Great actor. And I feel bad that I don't know his name, so I apologize.
And I don't know anything he's been in apparently. So,
but that's fine. Anywho, maybe we should dive back into the regular one. But even those... the regular podcast topic, but having to do again with these mundane, something about mundane in stories, almost one, it has to fit well with the story. And it also always seems to be either it brings out some kind of sad feeling for us or something that's I don't want to say anticlimactic, but I've always just found that the mundane in movies always seems poignant or sad or brings upon melancholy feelings to a degree. And I don't know why. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear you guys talk about.
Because it pulls you into reality, which you find makes
boring.
That,
yes.
That's not why you
melancholy and sad.
Yeah.
It's like
I want
this
dragons
life,
everywhere. And Legolas and Gimli running with me and flanking me on the way to Gondor. But
so you have a lot of thoughts of Legolas and Gimli flanking you? Or
honestly, yes. It's the best way to live life.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not a D&D kind of flanking, is it?
No.
I don't have one particular
There's so many
type.
fanfics about that, trust me.
I'm sure.
We'll sneak a day.
Yeah. You know who does what movie does a really good job of the mundane though is Stranger Than Fiction.
You're right.
Funny that it would be called that.
Yeah, I know, right?
I haven't seen it. I have not.
So I don't like Will Ferrell. He was fine on Saturday Night Live doing sketch comedy, but a lot of the movies I just didn't care for.
I enjoyed Elf.
That's a little different though. That's because it's a Christmas film and it's supposed to be kind of ridiculous. It's kind of like me liking Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. It's
but the cookie
it's bad.
down.
With the cookie down. All these cookies are so delicious. But Stranger Than Fiction does this wonderful thing that do you know what it's about?
Nope.
Okay. So
spoil it. It's fine. I won't remember.
No, it's fine.
I won't remember.
But they give this all away in the first 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. He's doing his mundane life and everything. And as he's going through it, all of a sudden he starts hearing the narration of his life. He was I can't remember any lines.
The Wonder Years.
Yeah, kind of, but it's somebody else narrating his life.
Okay.
The voice of Emma Thompson.
Yes, right? Emma Thompson, because she's the writer, and it never says it, but she may have brought him into life by just writing about him in these stories and everything.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and and so he's just his life wasn't going anywhere. He's like, what? It's just
fantastic.
Yeah, and so he finds out that she's been writing about him and she meets him. And of course he looks exactly like she pictured him in her mind and she's been writing about him. So she's got this whole manuscript about how she's going to end this book and everything. And she doesn't know if she can finish it because of the way it ends.
Right.
And it's one of those things where his life is totally just normal. He's an IRS accountant and he actually falls in love with this one girl who he's auditing. And so he goes through all this thing and it's a movie about acceptance, actually, about like accepting who you are and like what you have to do in life and giving to the greater good. Like you should definitely watch it sometime. I don't want to spoil it because if you haven't seen Stranger Than Fiction, it's a fantastic film. And it's the one film that with Will Ferrell that I think is phenomenal. It's I was going to say, it's kind of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind too, like where Jim Carrey just did a phenomenal job.
Well, you guys can show it to me on our reaction channel.
What's the reaction channel going to be called? Like it's got to be like BNB, like bored and I don't know. It's just something.
Bagels.
You can't ask me to think up a good title on the fly like that. I need to think.
It's got to ruminate.
Yeah.
Boards and battens.
This is not like 50 Shades of Grey Skull where it's like, it just occurs to me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It comes to you. Sometimes excellence just sparks.
Yeah. But like the mundane in fiction, I think it's part of what grounds you in realism. I mean, like, maybe that's part of why you're just like, oh, I don't want to be grounded in realism. But like,
right.
I don't want there to be periods and like things like that.
Yeah.
Unless it fits the story, like if like, I'm not pregnant. Like you got your period, but then
you are not the father
because he didn't have his period. Yeah. What? No.
It's so funny that I don't love the mundane, but I do love historical fiction, which obviously is rooted in reality to a degree. So I'm just an enigma. I don't know. But I don't know what I like.
Usually historical fiction isn't focusing on the mundane aspects of history.
True. That is true.
It's like, here are the things that mattered,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you have to have the mundane there or else people just can't believe. Like the mundane makes characters feel like real characters. It makes the plot seem like it could have happened. It makes the world feel like a real place. And I think like certain details, like, like the title of our episode, When Do They Pee? I think that's going to be the title. We haven't, nailed that down, but
what is pee is actually going to be,
but just, like you can have characters be in this situation, high tension, whatever, and then just have this thought, if you're a reader or a viewer or whatever, just like, could this even happen though? Because of this one mundane thing, this one mundane detail. Okay, maybe the creators weren't thinking of this thing, but it can just pull you right out of it. Like I knew a guy, Ryan, I mentioned him like last month. I introduced to gaming. And he said one thing that always ruined the movie Anna and the King for him, which is one of my favorite movies. It's like a take on The King and I.
Sure.
But one thing that ruined it for him was they were using these rifles from like Civil War era or something like that.
Sure.
And he was an expert on, he had a history degree and he was an expert kind of on the Civil War era. And that ruined it for him. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not that fussy. To me, that seems like quibbling a bit, but it's a similar kind of thing. You don't want to pull people out of your story, not just by not getting the details right, but by getting like whatever that threshold of believability is, you kind of want to meet that for people, or at least most people. Some people are going to be fussy about the rifles, but other people are going to say they can't ever go to the bathroom. I know one of the mysteries of the first season or a lot of Lost is like, why is Jack's stubble always the same length?
Because they're in purgatory.
Like, but no.
But they were.
Don't spoil it. But like, no, that's actually not true.
I know it's not true, but I guarantee you it was going to be what they were going to do it. And the people, let me tell you, the people on the internet figured this out. And then they scrambled to figure something else out. And then they were just like, oh, we can't make it about purgatory anymore because then people won't watch it. It's like, no, because if it's a good story, they'll still watch it. It doesn't matter if they figured it out or not. Like,
I don't think they did that. I don't think they had as much of a plan as you're crediting them with. Like, I think
they had a plan and then it got scrapped.
I think if you go by the analogy of Chekhov's gun, like if there's a gun, it has to be fired by the end of the play. For those who didn't know what Chekhov's gun is, like the things you pull a trigger on, like they have to find their mark.
Right.
I think what Lost did was they pulled a whole lot of triggers and then they scrambled around at the end, like with targets, like hit this target,
put it all together, right?
And some of them missed.
Yeah, some.
Because it was directed by JJ, right?
Right.
By who?
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof.
Yeah.
What's like the...
I'm going to bring up Lost every week, I'm sure.
It's okay.
But,
it's your thing.
You guys bring up Star Wars.
It's like, I think I bring up The Gray at least once a month.
I think it's one of those things where, too, it's just like... we're going a little off topic here, but like Night Shyamalan, where it's just like everything had to be a twist. Everything had to be like if it's not a twist, like then it's not one M. Night Shyamalan movie, but it's not good, I guess. Like, if you can't somehow surprise the audience, and
I really think he should make a movie where
there's no twist.
You're sensing a twist and it never happens. And that's the twist.
Then you blue balled the twist. Like, it's.
But that's the twist.
The twist is okay. Fair enough.
Just trolling the audience. You all decided this was my thing. I didn't decide I was never going to do
I want it
something
to be
else.
Ryan Gosling just going through his normal mundane life. And that's it.
Sure.
That's it.
But you would find that really kind of like melancholy. And
I would.
Some people would love it though, just watching them.
Honestly.
You know what's also kind of like that, I don't even want to call it like the melancholy, but it's where you use actors in the like most ridiculous like 5 seconds and then that's it. Like you'll see one of the things I was thinking was Brad Pitt, who was in the second Deadpool movie.
Okay.
He was the invisible guy. And like the entire time, and like you don't see anything, obviously, until he gets electrocuted and you see him for like half a second.
It's fantastic.
And then, like,
is he eating during that second?
No.
He's eating some electricity. That's what he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I love those ideas where it's just like seeing things that you're not expected in maybe the extraordinary, like, where you have these, I can't think of a good example right now, but it's like when you have these great fanciful things and then you have just like this silly thing that just happens, trying to think of a good example, but maybe actually maybe this is not a good example, but there's a scene from the end of A Quiet Place, day one, where this guy, all the aliens are attacking and this guy has his cat and he's just running away from the aliens with his cat and everything, and the cat gets away, it's fine. And he jumps off a pier and the aliens stop chasing him and everything. But it's just like, it's one of those things where that scene I feel is more powerful because one, we all know how much we're attached to our animals, but two, it's just like such a small thing in the biggest thing in his world, but a small thing maybe to everybody else when the aliens are attacking. It's a wonderful scene.
It's a very human sort of thing to do.
Yeah.
People during fire alarms and stuff, they'll grab their cats, put them in a pillowcase and run downstairs,
Oh my gosh.
That's smart.
Yeah.
If you can't find the cage.
Smart.
Yeah.
Like, I got to dig out the carrier. Because it takes up all the space. But hey, pillowcase right here.
That's genius.
Gosh,
We're
that's
saving
fantastic.
you. We're Sibby.
Yeah,
glad I could give you that idea.
Yeah, thank you.
I did that
Just
once.
If you had to.
Yeah, I did that once.
Oh, no.
When I had 3 cats and I was only supposed to have 1. In my apartment.
Sure. Security deposit gone.
But I also only had 2 carriers.
Oh.
So one of them had to get the pillowcase treatment, and it was probably the one easiest to catch.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
Like,
That's smart.
You're not. You're not getting.
Right.
You're not getting
That's so funny.
So it's like the one that I could catch last.
Oh,
the one that I left the one till last that I could most easily
Nice.
get.
Yeah.
Because
strategy.
That they
because you
won't
can't
bite
let
you.
go of the pillowcase.
Yeah.
You got it in there,
Yeah.
You can't fasten it shut,
Right.
That would be a whole other exercise. This starts to sound
Grab the
really
zip
morbid
ties.
now.
Yeah, it does. No, they all survive though, right?
Yeah, they're all
everything's
fine.
Everything's
It was
fine.
just a fire alarm. There was somebody did something badly.
And
Yeah.
it's funny, in our last week episode, I had mentioned that I think it added to world building, like the idea of food and having your characters eat or prepare or use some kind of like byproduct or whatever, that it add more to world building, not so much plot, maybe a little character. But I think it's very similar with the when do they pee thing, that if you add some kind of element to that it's really adding world building.
Yeah.
And maybe character too. But I really don't think plot as much. So I think that's maybe one reason why it's so difficult to add these elements into stories, because you don't want it to take away from plot because it's precious time, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does add to like some element of like, well, what kind of toilets do they have? Do they have, do they actually have time for this? Is this something that needs to be hidden or done in secret or, I don't know, things like that. Yeah. So I think it actually is a very challenging thing to add into stories.
Well, I think that's part of the point though, is that if it doesn't add to the plot and if it's in danger of taking away from the plot, I think that's a signpost that it was an afterthought to the creator, because if you plan it, you can have it add to the plot.
Right.
You can use it as a tool to make the plot happen. Like this person going to the bathroom right then is what created this whole chain of events.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like in my story, like this part of how this topic came about when we were talking about it was, I've got one part where this character is hiding in a crate for many, many hours. And the first thing she does once she gets out is find a place, because she's stowing away, find a place to like relieve herself without, having it be something that will be caught or noticed or anything.
Right.
And then you brought up, menstruation and things like that, like how that's not dealt with in fiction. But that's because it's all afterthoughts for people.
Right.
Now,
kind of not sexy too. Like that's because a lot of people wonder.
Depends what you're into, man.
Not gonna judge y'all. I'm just saying.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, totally put that in writing.
What's your favorite bodily movement? Right. Jesus. So one
That's
of the
another t-shirt.
What's your favorite bodily function? Mine's mastication.
Molting. Wait, no.
Did you say molting?
Molting.
I saw a video the other day of like a little bearded dragon molting and everything, and they took like some kind of like air compressor thing, and they just found a hole and they blew it into the hole, so like it puffed up like a little Michelin man or whatever.
It was so cute.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, meanwhile that lizard's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I am not a toy.
I have to bleep that out.
Bro, duck you.
Yeah. You can just sample that
Quack, quack, quack.
and then put it over there.
Perfect. You're my sound effects guy now.
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to say about how mundane is actually used very well, and that I love to see sometimes, is when, again, you have like the super fantastical in The Incredibles. That's a great example because they were superheroes. And now they had to live just normal lives. Like it's just, and watching them just try to function as like superheroes that can do all these fantastic things.
Right.
And then be normal, like Dash. Like, it's like, no, you run not too fast, but, kind of fast, but wait, you're going too faster. And like,
It's like, what's the point of doing this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And finding out that because their mundane or their normal is being superhero. Or actually, it's almost like the Clark Kent thing, right? Where it's just like, Superman is not the secret identity. Or Clark Kent is like his alter ego. Like
spoilers.
Superman. Yeah. Watch him go into a phone booth, which we have everywhere now still. But I like that Incredibles, that how they want to have those normal lives, but it's just like they can't, and the mundane, it shows that struggle against just living a normal life.
Yeah, it's sort of a story by counterpoint kind of thing.
They're fighting their authenticity to do that. And
because they're authentically superheroes, and they're like, okay, now we have to pretend to be something we're not.
Right.
And it shows the mundane life, and it's all of those things wrapped into one story.
Right.
The Office is another good place for the mundane. And like everyone hates Office. I finally showed you Office Space.
Yes.
Oh, Office Space.
But not, the Office in general, like that kind of scene, because
that environment.
Yeah, because Incredibles does a good job of that too.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, I can't tell you to fill out this form. I can't tell you to go to floor 4 and to fill this out. And it's just like, and he can't handle it because like you're like, he goes to the guy's office and he's like, look, that guy's getting mugged. He's like, good. I hope he's not one of our people. And so
I know there was briefly a show for one season, a show called The Bubble. It's one of those British panel shows.
Oh, just kidding.
British panel show, and it's like,
what do you think it was?
The Dome.
Oh, sure, yeah. That's the American version of it.
No, it's like you lock like 3 kind of mid-level celebrities in a house for like, well, they're shut up in a house for like 4 days, and they're cut off from internet, newspapers, like they have like everyone else, and then they come out, and the first place they go is the studio where they film this, and they get shown a bunch of fake. They get shown a bunch of news stories, and they have to figure out which ones are fake and which ones are real.
That's crazy.
And it lasted for one season. Now I think it's basically been replaced by Would I Lie to You, which is one of my favorite shows, and we got to do an episode on lying. At some point, like lies and stories.
Ooh, yeah.
Is that like that game where like tell me 2 truths and 1 lie?
It's sort of like, people read a card out loud and they've never seen the card. And if like sometimes the story is true and it's something they've told the producers, whatever, but other times when it's made up and they've never seen it before, they have to tell it as if it's true, and then the other team has to guess if it's the truth or
Jimmy
lie.
Fallon
and
stole
it's
that.
hilarious.
Is that salad bowl? Is
Kinda,
that?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's absolutely hilarious.
It's like when there's 3 people like around a table. Yeah.
I
want to watch like the original then, because it's still funny when, you know, Fallon and his crew does it too,
Right.
but it's
Is
just
it?
it forces you to, like, as an actor, you know, to make up a narrative. But yeah, lying would be definitely be a good episode.
And I can't remember why I brought up the bubble. This is one of the dangers of tangents, y'all.
Yeah.
I like signs better. Maybe some cosines.
What?
Tangents.
Oh,
Wow.
I prefer cotangents. Yeah.
Science joke. Science joke.
It's like, yeah, that's your special power. Science joke.
Yeah.
More like stupid jokes, but
Yes.
I'll take it. If I made one person laugh, it's worth it.
Why was I mentioning the bubble?
I don't know,
now?
bubble. Because the dome is passe.
No, it was before that.
It was
I don't know. Dead air.
No, it's okay. Dead air. Who killed the dead air? Was that your
static.
alien expression?
No.
Impression?
Make a little.
What was speaking? Was a joke where it's like when those aliens poop, do they have a second little butt that comes out and poops?
Oh, I remember what it was.
Oh my! I'm glad that helped remind us.
Because it's like, I got to get off of this.
I just wasn't listening to you.
That's fair.
No,
that was a dead noise.
No. There was one of the news stories was about some, you know, they had to pick which of 3 stories was true.
Yeah.
And one of the stories was about this guy who had to go to 2 different hospitals to get surgery on his different eyes.
Okay.
So he had to go to a different hospital for each eye surgery. And I was like, you know what? Britain is so well known for its bureaucracy, its bureaucratic. So I was like, that's got to be true.
Sure.
And it was. It's like, but it ties back to that mundane thing of like, these are the sort of things you would see in real life, is that kind of bureaucracy.
Sure.
That's like, you're doing well if you make that up, because that's the sort of thing people always say, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
But if you do make that up, and it's like, it ties into that, like those mundane aspects of life, then everyone's like, I can't, that was the master class, you know?
Yeah.
So like that whole, well, you know, no one ever addresses this. When do they pee, or when do they menstruate, or when do they eat, or like whatever random stuff? When do they get a haircut? When does he shave his stubble? How is his stubble always the same length with, you know, no razor? It's like with a razor, it should be gone. Without one, it should grow.
Right.
So what's going on?
Would you even have a razor? In the first place. Yeah.
But usually some people will carry them on planes, you know, like
sure. So it might have been strewn about.
Right.
You know.
But it's like, okay, but then this should change.
Right.
You know, and so if you can bring that into your story, you're doing well.
Yeah.
But, you know, like my background is mostly from role-playing games.
Sure.
And people are notoriously bad about remembering those mundane details.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think The Gamers is one of those movies that, like, if you've ever seen that, it's like a parody of any gaming session.
Maybe.
And
I don't think so.
It's funny. But
Sounds familiar.
But there'll just be stuff that comes up in the middle of it, because like at one point, like they're showing the people around a table playing the role-playing game, which we explained an episode or a couple episodes ago what a role-playing game is.
Yes.
But you'll have the people around the table doing their, you know, table talk, and then you'll see actors actually, you know, in character, in costumes, playing.
Yeah.
And so they come up to a river, and you know, they're just standing there, you know, and then around the table, one of them's like, "Aren't you forgetting something?" Oh, like what? Like your terror of water. And then you see the guys at the river, and one of them just goes, drag him away.
That's funny.
Fantastic.
Or just like one of my least favorite in games is like, don't you have a familiar or a pet or something?
Oh,
and then and then in the scene, the pet just shows up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
That's
yes, you know,
They were hiding in a pocket or whatever.
Right, the whole time.
right.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of come from that world, you might find yourself on your back foot, just like, okay, I need to work some of these things in, so it's like actually plausible.
To your point of stubble, too, I was going to say The Walking Dead. People made a bunch of comments about like, all these lawns are perfectly manicured in the apocalypse. Like,
why isn't the grass growing?
Yeah, it would be just big and overgrown. Like,
I know. Like, there's so many shows like that. Like, especially the post-apocalyptic things where they're like, well, we don't want to deal with that. And so they don't.
Sure.
Like, Lost needs to have a map because you'll find something that, they discover the hatch. Well, I won't tell people for what people don't know what that is. They'll discover the hatch. And it took a half a day of searching and walking, like not like walking around in circles, but like, straight line or like largely straight line to get to the hatch. And then, like half a season later, it's like a 40-minute walk. Like,
inconsistency.
Okay. Yeah. Or not even 40 minutes. It's more like 15.
Sure.
Like, okay, I want to see the map of this island.
Right.
And
is it the island shifting or traveling through time? Sorry.
Yeah. Like,
sorry.
Not the local geography.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Please stand by.
Yeah. Why do we always end up at the pirate ship?
Well, that could be a thing too. Maybe the first time they were like going in a path like this, and then they finally figured out the path like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But they do that.
Bridge.
They do that too many times with too many things.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, they're moving at the speed of story, apparently.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great t-shirt idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sort of, linked to an old Terry Pratchett thing. It's like, the speed of darkness is faster than the speed of light because wherever light goes, darkness is already there waiting for it,
Wow.
It's just...
We're talking about dark matter and tachyons.
He did another thing. It was like the speed of regions, or the speed of like it was royalty or regency or whatever. Like as soon as the speed of monarchy, as soon as one monarch dies, this other person in a completely different geographic location becomes monarch. So it's like so instant. It's faster than the speed of light.
Oh, wow.
It's just ridiculous,
Yeah, well, it's like when somebody passes away too, like the amount of people that descend on what's like available.
Honestly,
like soldiers.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But another mundane thing, like as we've been talking and just thinking about, is like, when do they sleep? Also, because in some stories, like it's not important to plot. Sometimes it is. I think one example is it 1917, where like it's all being shot as like one shot.
Yeah.
And
creative cuts.
Yeah. And this poor soldier, this poor kid, the narrative doesn't stop until he gets knocked out at one point, and then time jump is kind of, it's not the worst spoiler, hopefully.
No, the Allies won.
But I think that's another mundane type thing that isn't sexy for a story, unless it is something sexy going on. But just like pure like sleeping and resting for the characters. And I think sometimes the opposite is used as a plot device, where like a character hasn't been able to sleep and they're exhausted and they're just going with what's happening with the story until finally they just need to take a break, take a rest. And I think that's something that like I will think about, because I love sleeping. I love,
What's your
queen of 13-hour naps. Find me on Discord.
She fell asleep during our last meeting.
I did.
Oh, that was so funny because it just was a picture of the ceiling. I was like, so what do you think, Kate? Nothing. Dead silence.
So it's very important to me. And so something that I will often think about like in a show, and like I'll feel more empathy, like if it's brought up in a certain way, and like compassion for the character for what they're going through. But sometimes it's just not acknowledged, and it doesn't ruin a story for me, but it takes me out of the suspended belief for a little bit.
Yeah, I have to deal with it a lot because, I write pirate stories and people have shifts. There's always got to be someone on watch. There's always has to be someone doing specific duties. And, with a small crew, those duties don't get spread around enough so that like people are on radically different sleep schedules.
Right.
And that matters when you run across something you have to do, or someone you have to attack, like you do. Or just who's working on a sleep deficit or any kind of deficit.
Sure.
And, again, like that's one of those stories where you think like, it's always unlucky to have a woman on board, historically. And I'm like, I don't know if it's unlucky or just men didn't want to deal with periods.
I really think so. That's honestly been my running theory of just like the the needs of the woman, whatever. And
tell me more.
but at the same time,
yes, I don't know.
Yeah, not at all. He has no clue.
Yeah, I've never lived with one for 7 years, so sorry.
But I say that in like, even as a woman, I'm bothered by the needs of a woman, of myself, because like it gets in the way often, right? And then I guess that brings back the one reason why the mundane in stories bothers me, because I live it. I don't want to hear about it in my fantasy stories with dragons and magic and all blah,
and being
blah,
flanked by Gimli and Legolas.
Yeah.
It's just reminding me of a great, speaking of the mundane and Lord of the Rings, I'm just remembering this meme of like, you see like a real world photo of 2 toilets side by side.
Yeah.
And then there's the cut to like Gimli and Legolas. Like, what about side by side with a friend? Like, who put these in the real world side by side? Like,
or the SNL skit. Do you ever remember that one where it's like the couple's toilet where one's facing this way, another one's facing this way, and then like you can hold hands and you push the toilet to flush together.
Oh my god,
it was ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe these were photoshopped or something. I don't care. I'm here for it, but no.
I mean, you've seen so many. The internet's shown us so many wondrous things.
No, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fantastic.
Sleeping with used as a device too. I was going to bring this up when you're talking about 127 hours is a great example of that, where it's just like the movie where he's stuck with the boulder, his hands
James Franco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a great movie. Like I really, because it's just him there, and everything happens in all his just like mind wanderings and recollections and everything of like one time he starts kind of not going crazy, but hallucinating because like his mind has to do something. He's just stuck there, you know?
Yeah.
And then I thought that was a great example of how like, it's not mundane because it's such an extraordinary circumstance, but nothing's happening. It's just a man just sitting there, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I always sort of wonder like how people in real life deal with that. Like, you know, if they're trapped under rubble or an avalanche or
horrible,
you know, like earthquakes and stuff like that. Cause you know, you hear about that stuff a lot, especially when there's a really massive earthquake or episode of whatever it is, tsunami. Like if you're trapped somewhere,
right? Those miraculous stories of how they get out and stuff like that too,
right? But even just how they cope with it while they're there,
sure,
you know? Because you've got to some way. It's like maybe you're unconscious the whole time, but then of course you're slowly dying of thirst or whatever.
I wonder. That's almost. I don't know if we talked about this before, but the prisoner's circus, when people are left in solitude and everything. And all you see is like, if you close your eyes and you rub your eyes, you see like the little specks or like the moving shapes behind your eyes. When you're in complete darkness for long periods of times, people start seeing things, and they start saying like, people will call it like a circus because it was just this wonderful moving things. Looks like whatever trapeze artist things that they're seeing. And it's one of those things where your brain has to do something because otherwise you're going to go insane. I feel like.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like part of the point of sleep is to sort mental data.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, it's going to start encroaching, you know, and your brain's going to interpret it somehow.
Right.
And like you don't know if there's any actual meaning or symbolism to what's popping up. Just like in dreams, like they don't all have a meaning.
This is the theory I always had about dreams though, is that I always thought dreams, like we are always continuously trying to either look for danger or analyze things. And I think dreams are another way to train in the most extreme situations. Like because a lot of times we will never be in these situations where we're an alien's hunting us down, wherever. But
speak for yourself.
Yeah. But I really think that it's our body just trying to give us situations and what we will do. So when we do these in the real life, we will have some kind of semblance. And that's why like we are hit so hard when we wake up and like something very sad or jarring happens. And we're like, oh, it felt real, right? Because we need to know how to feel these things. Because they say the only way you can get better is to put yourself through these extreme circumstances in order to just have those feelings and have those moments already lived, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if that, like, I don't know.
That's just my thought I've always had. Yeah.
I know, like, I think there's data on your conscious mind processes things at like 40 bits per second or something.
Oh God.
And your subconscious processes at like 200,000 or or something
I
like
believe
that.
that.
And it reasserts itself as you sleep, I think, a lot of the time.
That's really cool. I didn't know that they've done stuff.
90, I keep hearing this figure, 95 to 97% of everything, of all the decisions you make are governed by your subconscious.
It's almost instantaneous too.
And so the trick is to retrain your subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
but you can only do it slowly.
Takes a lot of
because
work.
Because the baud rate is different than
but you can do it. What happens, what makes it quicker is like a combination of repetition and emotion. So either lots of repetition, less emotion, or like very little repetition and like lots of emotion. Like if you're traumatized, by an earthquake, that's a one time. That's not there's no repetition, but it can kind of reprogram certain responses and give you that traumatic kind of post-traumatic stress disorder, or other things that are like more consistent repetition in childhood or something, but lower grade can build the same kind of responses. So not to get too into that, but like getting back to what you were saying about like this isn't the part of the story I'm interested in. Like all of these mundane things. I always think it's important if you're writing a story to think about like what is the story I want to tell. And like people ask me this about historical research. Like when do you like what amount of research is enough? And so
never enough, right?
I always say like treat it like a microscope. Anyone who's ever looked through a microscope knows like the thing you want to look at, like on the slide, you want to see certain details.
Right.
So you focus the microscope to see those details in sharp focus. Other things outside of that can be blurry. And then there are other things that are completely invisible. You can't see them at all with that level of focus.
Right.
And so you think about that with story, like what's the story I want to tell? Those things need to be in sharp focus. Other things can be blurry, and that's your playground. Other things can be totally invisible, and you get to mess with that too.
Right.
And so maybe you want some of these mundane details to be more like the invisible things.
Yeah.
But you have to create a scenario where those things can't exist, even if you don't talk about them. Like, as long as there's a toilet, I don't have to talk about going to the bathroom.
Right.
As long as they have the opportunity, you can fill that in yourself.
It's true.
But if there is no way to do it, that's when it pulls people out. Like, hey, wait a minute. What about this?
Right.
And so it depends on what is the story you want to tell. Like I don't deal with, every cold or allergy that a character might have. That's not the story I want to tell.
Unless it makes sense. Like they got the cold from somebody that like was the bad guy or something like that. You never know. Like,
Yeah. I mean, something even more like that you would think would affect things more like, what's the weather doing that day? A lot of people don't really write that in the stories. But a lot of the time it's relevant, especially like fantasy or historical fiction or whatever. Like
for a pirate crew.
Yeah. Like if you're using a matchlock and it's raining, you're not using the matchlock.
You have a club.
You gotta be under an umbrella or something.
I'm just gonna say, is there a little umbrella for the top of the gun?
Sorry, parasol.
Gotta keep it accurate.
If those even existed, but like, you've got to factor in some of these mundane things sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that you say that there's like the invisible part and then the blurry part, because yes, very well said. Like if you have a character that's, I don't know, stuck in a prison cell and there's no toilet, but they're in there for a long amount of time. Well, you got to kind of, if you don't acknowledge it in the story, like you said, the reader will to some degree. And like you said, at least if there's the opportunity for the normal bodily function, let's say, then people won't question it. But yeah, people will, maybe it's the subconscious. I don't know. It's not. But in some way, shape, or form, they will be looking at the setting. They will be looking at, whether or not it was a dark and stormy night, and make kind of like assumptions based around that, like with context clues and things like that. And it's almost like putting in those things so that you can trust the reader to believe that these things are happening in around the scenes that your characters are actually in. And it's interesting to think about that. Because again, the mundane is boring to me, but super necessary as a story element. So whether or not it's again, it's got to be world building. Yeah. Very, very sometimes like very specific times it can be used for plot.
Yeah.
Often I guess maybe should be.
You can use it to build whole stories. Like I had it in mind. I haven't done this and I'm probably not going to, but I had it in mind once to do a sort of choose your own adventure, erotica comedy sort of story. And I was going to
peaches and eggplants in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to set it in like an office setting, but it was the comedy element was going to come in with like some of the mundane stuff. Like,
sure.
You know, like say you're a guy, you get up in the morning and, you know, you haven't done laundry in a bit and you can wear these pants that are like kind of dirty. Like they've even got a little stain on them, but you really like them, whatever. And but there's this other pair of pants that's like clean, but it's got this loose button in the front, you know? And like pick it up, turn to this page and like, you know, okay, you're in the bathroom, whatever. And like you unbutton your pants to go to the bathroom and that button comes off, falls into the toilet.
Yeah.
You know, and then like,
do you fish it out?
Right. But then later on, you know, like this potential for sex in this story would crop up and like, okay, now I have to decide if I'm going to reveal that I'm wearing pants with no button.
Right.
You know, like totally.
Or that turn her on.
Deal breaker. Yeah.
Or this could factor in. Right. Like where you're building it off of these stupid mundane things.
Right.
Just tiny little elements.
That's funny.
Yeah. That'd be clever.
Have you ever seen Walter Mitty, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
No.
Okay. So that's a great example of the mundane, but seeing the beauty in the mundane. You know, because I think one of the things that people, unfortunately, as we get more involved in like social media and all this stuff, everybody's seeing the pinnacle of everybody or the fake what everyone's showing, and it's not real. And when you go out and you just see again a beautiful sunrise, walking through nature, just taking in a deep breath, like all these things that are just super, just normal. But they are beautiful if you allow them to be beautiful. And Walter Mitty does a really good job because he's never done anything exciting in his life. And yes, he starts to push himself to do exciting stuff, but like his whole view of the world is just, I don't want to say in fear, but it's almost like he wants all these great things, but he is living this normal life and you kind of sympathize with him too.
Right.
And a lot of times that sympathy that we have for the mundane or people stuck in the mundane builds on story because we just like, we want these people to get out of these things. We want, because it's such a rewarding thing after the end of Walter Mitty and how he succeeds. And it's not even anything super fantastical. It's just, he finally makes those steps to just push himself a little farther. Right. You know, and get on a helicopter when he would never do it. And this guy who just drank like 4 beers or whatever. So it's one of those things that I love when we can find the beauty in normalcy and everything. And I think a lot of people would benefit from doing that. Now, when you write stories, I get it. It's a little different. We want that fantastical. Again, like you say, we go to books to find that kind of stuff.
The exceptionalism.
Yeah. But it's okay to be like normal because you almost like need those normal characters. Like, when I was writing like all this group of girls that were in these trials together, like not all of them, they're all the best of their tribes and everything, but they're not like the best of the best and they're going to like save the world and everything. They're just competent. Reliable. But together they make such a great group of people and everything. And they're going to be a great tribe, you know?
Back to Voltron.
What am I this week? I'm the left elbow and that's it.
You're the little chest plane guy. I want to be the chest plane guy. That's the original Voltron.
No, I thought you were talking about Power Rangers where the pterodactyl was the chess piece.
Okay, I just want to like state this for the public, right now. I am never ever talking about Power Rangers.
Why? Why do you have such hate for Power Rangers?
I've never watched Power Rangers. I'm never going to be talking. And you are
missing out.
Yeah.
But like, you're living a mundane life without watching Power Rangers.
I'm giving an example. It's never from Power Rangers.
I mean, I watched Voltron too, man. I mean, it just... Power Ranger, God, that theme song. Have you ever heard Go Power Rangers?
Yeah.
That might be why I never watched Power Rangers. No, I'm just kidding.
It's such a...
There's not enough sense in the song for him.
I need meaning. It's too mundane.
I said there was so much disdain. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If they just didn't do the slow fade out,
Yeah.
We're going to have in-jokes in this podcast.
Yep.
That's... no, we already talked about music, but it's almost like mundane music, or how would that play into?
It'd be great for you mentioned cottagecore,
Yeah.
it's like last month.
Mm-hmm.
Just simple music, even one instrument, because that plays a big thing. And if it's just like a person playing just a flute, is it different than a whole orchestra? You know,
adding texture to the mundane,
right?
Or I had a roommate once that Courtney, you know who you are. I don't know if you're listening, but she once said the phrase, "We must bring magic to the mundane." And I think that's honestly one reason why, as we've been talking about this, why the mundane often drives me nuts in stories is because like I've worked so hard to appreciate and admire my own mundane and to genuinely like it. And so that's why when I did watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, it was within the last year or so, I was like, this is a movie that I don't need anymore. Like I've reached the point of knowing that, because by the end of that movie, don't want to spoil it too much, he learns to just exist and be and
I don't know how that could spoil.
But I think that's kind of the beauty of the mundane sometime, in that I don't think I was alone in disliking the mundane for a long time. I joke about it now. I'm enjoying my mundane, but like now I am at a point where like, I don't want it in my stories. I want dragons. I want, Legolas and Gimli flanking me. But
not mundane.
But I think because we do have to work to appreciate the mundane and find that that's where we're existing. Like that's real life. That's the everyday. And we're not always going to be, Bilbo Baggins going off on some grand adventure and coming back. That's not every day. That's like a once or twice, I guess, in his case, lifetime thing. Maybe once, whatever. That it's not realistic to have every day be some extraordinary, extravagant thing that you almost just do have to learn to appreciate doing your dishes, watering your flowers.
Yeah, I use that in like dating coaching too, because people would talk about what do they want their relationships to be like. Or even you could see this in a dating profile online or something. Like I love travel and hiking and biking and like all these crazy, not crazy things even, but like things you don't do all the time. I'm like, okay, I want to know how you spend the other 90% of your time,
right?
And if you're a couple, it's like, oh, we have all these plans. We had this plan to go on this trip and this plan to do this and that. I'm like, yeah, but 90% of the time you're together at home.
Yeah.
How do you spend that time? How do you make that fun, or not even just fun? Because it's not about everything being fun. We overuse the word fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even like with tolerable.
Even like with sexual gratification, I don't think the word fun is like it could be intense, whatever. But we use fun for everything, and it really should be fulfilling or enjoyable or whatever.
Right.
I don't imagine it's ever fun with.
No. Always boring.
I was going to say the only time that sex is intense is when you're having sex in the woods.
Boo. Boo.
That's real cottagecore right there.
God damn it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like.
No, but that's a really good point because, and I say like that 90% of the time, like how do we make that like tolerable between two people? Because you are two completely different people coming to spend your time in one household, apartment, wherever you are, one space.
Yeah.
If you can't enjoy the mundane together,
right,
you can't enjoy each other most of the time.
Right. And maybe
you just need to exist, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes in the
Secret Life of Walter Mitty,
yep.
right? And to exist and see that sunshine and not, this isn't spoiling it, but not take that picture. If you've seen it, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Just exist with it and be there in that moment and appreciate that moment and find the gratitude in the mundane, that magic, right?
Actually, it's a great scene. Like that is
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn, yeah.
But yeah, it's funny to see that balance between mundane in real life and mundane in stories, because it's almost like you need different versions of it at different points in your life.
Yeah.
And just because I say like, at this point in my life, I did not need the lessons from Secret Life of Walter Mitty 10 years ago. Absolutely. But I just wasn't in a place to watch it then. So maybe it was more impactful now I don't know.
Well, I think people also forget to leave room for the mundane in the story of their own life. I see it. Yeah. There's this attitude, especially in certain societies, about just being hyper productive all the time.
Sure.
You know, like if I'm not accomplishing something, I'm not worth anything or whatever. Like I got to be writing this story, or I've got to be, getting fit, or I've got to be getting enough sleep, or eating right, or getting work done, or, mowing the lawn. But like, if you don't leave room for yourself to do mundane things and enjoy mundane things, you will burn out. You will always burn out. Like I like to think, I have 3 hours, that just opened up for me. How am I going to use it? And a lot of the time, considering how busy I currently am, I will use it. I'll just try to enjoy it.
Sure.
Like there are a lot of mundane things that, don't move the ball, as they say. But it's like, okay, I want to play a video game. I've gotten to do that in 2 weeks, or I will go for a walk, which, you can put that under the getting fit umbrella. But like, let's face it, like that's not going to get me there.
Well,
by itself.
There's maintenance though.
Right.
Like there is a maintenance that is mundane. Like, cause I enjoy doing the lawn. Like, it's something that it's time to myself. It's, restorative.
You can double up with certain activities. You're lucky enough to enjoy them, and they're restorative that way.
But even if like doing dishes, it's mundane, and I can't say I really enjoy doing dishes, but it's like I do enjoy the maintenance of things. Like that's the thing that I really enjoy, because I know I'm bringing like you have walls or barriers to your castle, let's say, and you maintaining those walls are important. Even if it's boring, and doing the lawn, brushing your teeth, like all these things that like I enjoy just the maintenance of it. So I don't want to, because I don't want to like look down too harshly on like that kind of stuff. Like, so that's why when you said doing the lawn, it's like, no, I love doing the lawn. The lawn is like, it's me being in nature too. And that's a big thing,
But I mean, there's almost all of us have something that we designate as like, this is wholly unproductive.
Sure.
And one thing is to maybe like examine that, like maybe that's not even correct. Like, okay, if this is restorative to me, is it really? But also like, why does it matter all the time if it's productive? Like just like we have to leave that room in story for like the mundane to happen. We have to leave that room in our lives for the mundane to happen.
I get that.
And like whether or not we learn to appreciate it, which is a useful skill, you've got to leave room for it. Otherwise, you do end up 10 minutes late to everything. I always like the thing of like, it'll take me 15 minutes to get ready. And it's like, okay, it technically, yes, but how much of that time are you going to, like look in the mirror or try different things or whatever? Like, okay, maybe it takes 25 minutes. Now you're 10 minutes late. And like, how much does that matter? Who knows? But
the grand scheme
leave
of things.
room for yourself to play with those things, not just get it done.
To play with the mundane.
Unless you're always late and you get fired. That's,
that's bad for you.
No comment.
Why, you just get fired?
No, I'm late a lot.
But that's the thing about time. It's all relative, right? At some point, it's all just a construct and everything. I get it. It's a good timekeeping thing, but
time is a good timekeeping thing.
Time is a good timekeeping thing. A little thing. Yeah. We just did an escape room that had to do with time. It was great. But
most of them have to do with time.
Well, yes, you have a time limit. I'm just saying there were clocks around the world that gave us the code to get out of the.
Got it.
Yeah, it was fun. You would have liked it.
Yeah, I was not there.
No, it was a bachelor party just for the boys.
Gentlemen only, ladies forbidden.
Yeah. But because you had to pee sitting down.
Yeah, that's when that had to happen.
That's when it happened. Yeah,
that was a long or a short bachelor party. I don't know.
It was a good bachelor. Congratulations, Derek.
Yeah.
He's getting married.
Yeah. But yeah.
Anything else you got in your docket?
I got stuff. Like,
there's always
like what are some of those mundane things that you see left out of stories a lot? Like sunburn and clothing repair and batteries running out.
Not having chapstick. Like for me, like I think I have a problem too. But the fact that honestly, things like, well, obviously Pirates of the Caribbean is a bad example because it's in the past. But other stories like there's, I think it's The Good, Bad, the Ugly. where in the beginning, Blonde eats Clint Eastwood. I hope I'm not getting my movies mixed up.
It's one of the Clint Eastwood
He's
films.
just so sunburned and his lips are so chapped. And I'm just like, I just want to
just throwing the thing at the screen.
Yeah. I feel so bad for him.
He didn't make time for the mundane.
Yeah. He should have stopped at the general store.
I think it's in the mid 1800s or
Did they
so.
have balls?
It'd be late 1800s.
Yeah, because I think he was Civil War era.
Usually, most of those cowboy stories are like 1890 to like 1910 or so.
Yeah. And so for me, that's one thing because again, I think I'm addicted to chapstick. If you have a health group out there, please let me know
There's
in the comments.
Tons of there's one there. There's always one on you.
This would be a food byproduct.
Yeah. Beeswax.
Beeswax.
Not a product placement.
Product placement. We're not sponsoring, but we just like it.
I should really turn this away from.
But Bards and Balladeers.
Bards and Balladeers.
Like and subscribe.
Hopefully by time,
we are in fact sponsored by Bards and Balladeers.
Podcast. I heard they're a great bunch.
Yeah,
they're so much fun to listen to.
I know, man.
They really make the time go by.
They put me to sleep so easily.
Oh, nice.
God, they're always advertising themselves, though. But yeah, otherwise, if you guys had any of those things that you see missing a lot, like chapstick or like sunburn's one that I have to contend with a lot in fiction.
But I was gonna say, I've seen them used a lot in comedy, like when somebody just like either sleeps too long in the sun and they get all burnt or whatever, or they put the had their CD player on their chest or whatever, it looks like a bra,
right?
I do have one too. Another one is ladies not having brushes for their hair or in like survival type things or like not having it and like not being able to brush their hair. I mean, I'm a curly haired lady, and not being able to brush it at certain times. Like it becomes a rat's nest if you don't.
Same with haircuts.
That's true. Oh yeah. That's true.
Like, I mean, this is one area where like I help people budget in real life too. And I will always tell them, budget for haircuts. You have to budget for the mundane too.
You do.
Those things that don't happen every month.
Right.
But like, spoilers, 6 weeks for me. But like the things that you can't write easily into a monthly or like weekly budget, you still have to budget for them. And that's usually those little mundane things like hair stuff.
Car wash.
Yep. Car wash. Buying socks.
Which forces us to like, since we have a subscription to one of those ones that pull you through, whatever. Right. It's like we got to make sure we go at least once a week to make it worthwhile.
Right.
Otherwise, we're losing money. Yep. We're not optimizing correctly.
Yes.
But I know like you said like hair and everything. I thought it was really fun. Again, I got to bring up Lost because they have what the plane had.
Oh,
and so
have what the planes have.
They're a lot of dead bodies.
Crash, yeah.
I just saw Family Guy. Sorry, real quick. Where's they're feeding Stewie, and it's like, oh yeah, unlike that one plane or that failed airplane that they did, and it shows like the spoon with all the Oreos in it, and he's like feeding it to Stewie, and then it's kind of veering off course, and all the cereals are screaming, and then it hits the side of Stewie's face and explodes, and I'm just like, oh my god, it was ridiculous.
Oh, Seth MacFarlane.
Sorry.
No, speaking of I'd realized I'd forgotten to mention the When Harry Met Sally thing in the food episode we did.
Oh,
it was like building character with like who's high maintenance, who's low maintenance.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But no, like. So they have what's on the plane and they don't have what's not on the plane. And the amount they fudge with that is ridiculous. Like, where do they find all these tarps? Was there a tarp salesman flying? And why is there a pregnancy test? They at least addressed that in the show.
Okay.
Like they're like, who brings a pregnancy test on a plane? Like, okay, fair enough.
Maybe they're buying it for someone else. Like they were going to meet them. It's like pee on this right as they get off the plane. So they,
wow, yeah.
Another one they pee.
When I'm pregnant,
And honestly,
I'll pee when I'm pregnant.
That is only then.
Never. That needs to go on a maternity shirt.
I'll only pee when I'm pregnant.
Yeah. It's kind of like I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Orville.
What about the Orville?
Orville and pee. Do you remember what with Brutus or Bortus? Because this race of people, they only pee once a year and they make a ritual out of it.
I don't remember that.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
And they go to this like chasm and they just like scream into the void and they pee and they release their bowels.
How do I not remember?
You don't remember that?
No.
It's so great. Again, you need to watch.
Oh god, Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, it's a great. It's funny.
I'm remembering too, like Scrubs dealt with it a little bit, like that last season that people are like, oh, it never should have happened.
The ninth one that happened like after,
yeah. Well, it might have been 8th. Yeah, it was one of those late.
Well, it's the one where they continued, where they should have just stopped it.
It might have been 8th then.
Okay.
But like, there's this, like new guy, and Turk is like, he doesn't want to deal with them, so he's like, okay, I want you to. The guy wants to be a surgeon, and he's like, you need to stand here holding this exactly this way, as long as you can.
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and like he forgets about him.
Oh, no.
He comes back, and like 11 hours later, the dude's still doing it.
Dang.
And he's, they're asking like, how, like, what did you do? And he's like, well, I learned this trick, and I forget where he was saying he learned it about, like, just like staying still or like not taking a break.
Sure.
But he's like, you pee a little bit and then you let it dry. Pee a little bit. And then you let it dry.
God.
I'm like, you know what? Way to address that in a sitcom.
Well done.
And it's like, okay, he actually has some skills that would make him a pretty good surgeon.
Right. We have a friend who is a nurse, and she would talk about like she would go 10 hours without peeing. She had to build that tolerance.
I've done it trying to sell books, and eventually I'm just like, this isn't worth it.
Right.
But I can. It's a weird flex. I don't have to pee that much.
Yeah.
Or reverse pee.
Yeah. And then like 10 years later, like, kidney failure.
Right. Or kidney stones or whatever.
It was worth it. Sold the books.
Yeah. So it's 2 books.
Extra 2 books.
Yeah.
now.
Because I wasn't there. Some lady who thought it was J.K. Rowling or whatever. I don't know why J.K. Rowling, but
I know. Yeah.
It's like
people.
What are you trying to say about me?
Yes. You're a bigot.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
You're not.
No.
But let's leave it at that, though. Let's wrap it up.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And you know that you can always go to our website or YouTube or any other place.
Spotify too.
Spotify also to watch our episodes. Let us know how you feel about anything that we said in the comments, any mundane things that you can think of in stories that drive you nuts, that you love, you want to see more of, you want to see less of. And anything else, fellas?
Yeah, buy our books, and then you can call us out on like
all the
yes.
Absolutely.
We address it a bit.
Yeah. We could have a whole section of just like comments on our books and how
Yes.
Call us out.
Call us out. We love it. We'll talk about it.
Do it in the comments though, where it helps the algorithm.
Yeah. The algorithm. Our true Lord and Savior.
Oh, and I want to take this last little moment here, unrelated, to address some errata that everyone asked about from like earlier episodes. Pippin was actually 29 in Lord of the Rings. No one's asked about that but me, but I just
It's funny, we just looked that up yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Because like, how old are these dumb hobbits?
I'm nerdy enough that I remembered it, and then I looked it up and was right.
Sure,
and I'm like,
nice.
but I remembered it because I've read it enough times.
Yeah.
But that's funny that you guys looked that up too.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my god.
Although I think Jim and I said 28, but maybe that's at the start of it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
When he talks about it in Return of the King, he's 29.
There we go. All right. When Denethor eats the tomato. Sorry. Can you edit that out?
No.
This is like Darmok and Gelada Tanagra. It's like when Denethor ate the tomato.
When Denethor ate the tomato, the walls fell.
Walls fell.
Oh my gosh.
That's great.
We will see you all later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.